So guys, Angus here. We're going to cover the Zone 2 exercise, what it is and why I think it's one of the most important things and one of the most underrated things in health. So performance athletes know all about Zone 2 and incorporate loads, but if you want to lose fat, this is why I think it could be really helpful. This funnel is the funnel that goes into your fat cells. So if you imagine protein, fat and carbohydrates kind of start from the top and work their way down. Any protein that isn't used by the body and sort of converted into muscle tissue and other lean tissue will convert or be used as carbohydrates. Any carbohydrates that you eat and any of that protein that becomes carbohydrates left over from what you use in high intensity exercise or burned throughout your metabolism will just simply go to the liver and convert into fat. Any fat that you eat that is left over after it's not burned through the metabolism, so all these things trickle down into fat in the cell, into the body, and then eventually go through this funnel and go into my hand here representing the fat cells, so fire through. So we've got a big funnel that we can just fire fat through. So again, your total caloric balance will matter coming in here, but we're talking about when you're creating a deficit, we want fat out of that system. So in the study up here, the Indigo San Milan study, people at the lower end had type 2 diabetes, but these can also just represent unfit people. So there's 0.2 grams per minute that can get out of the fat cell. So they have a tiny little hole here to get out of the fat cell, and it's almost locked. It's locked at a maximum of 0.2. Zach Bitter, this endurance athlete, he can take out 1.6 grams per minute. So that's at the very top end, and that's the very bottom end, and we're going to be in a range in between that. So even in this study, I think off the top of my head, it was like 0.4 were the recreational athletes, and 0.7 or 0.8 was the kind of elite athletes, and then Zach Bitter is a tier above that. So with Zone 2 exercise, we can train that fat burning ability to make this hole bigger. So if you think of this as all little nodules, so instead of only forcing fat or trying to get fat out of this hole per minute, we can move up a level, move up a level, move up a level. We can almost make the hole as big as the hole going in. So obviously the more fat you can get out of the cell, the more productive. Why is that important? The people 0.2, if you kind of do the maths on that, even a walk, someone who's only 0.2, a walk will use 50% carbohydrates. We would really like most people when they go for a walk to use 80 to 100% fat to fuel that walk. But if you're using 50% of the energy to fuel a walk from fat, that doesn't mean you can't lose fat, it just means you're inefficient at losing fat, and you're not going to lose fat in the rate that you might want. Of course, you're probably at rest for most of the day, and your metabolism is always ticking over. So depending on how many calories you burn through your metabolism a day, as long as you undereat that calories, that's going to be beneficial for your overall deficit. But we want to take that deficit, we don't want to force the body to use carbohydrates to fuel that deficit. As we know, protein can become carbohydrates, and then that's going to fuel. So depending on how you're eating, how you're maximizing things, but if you really want to maximize the amount of fat you can lose, or the amount of fat you can use at rest, or the amount of fat you can use in activity, you want to improve your Zone 2. And in this video, we'll go into detail how you can do that. So 10 things that make Zone 2 really good. First of all, it's really easy to do. Just hop on a bike, just get started. Not really a need for a warm-up. The first couple of minutes will act as your warm-up. Because the intensity is so low, it's incredibly easy to do. Second, it makes you way better at burning fat. Thirdly, it can really help with hunger, because as you use fat more as a fuel source, when you get stressed or anytime you kind of activate a system that requires carbohydrates, your fat kind of burning engine is a lot better and will recover a lot faster. It makes you more metabolically flexible. Number 4, it's just not fatiguing. It actually is the opposite of fatiguing. And number 5 is it will make you recover faster. So if you're doing a really heavy session, the next day you can pop on and do some Zone 2 and help clear your body and kind of help recover in active recovery a lot better. Number 6, it can actually be relaxing. It can help reduce cortisol because it's not very strenuous to do, so it's kind of under this cortisol level. It can kind of chew up cortisol in the system and get you back into a relaxed state. And particularly if you use a music choice that's less aggressive and you use something calming like Disney music, for instance, can be a really good hack to do is hop on the bike, do some Zone 2 and listen to some Disney music. Can really lower down the entire system if you're not someone who wants to do meditation. Number 7 is it's productive. It's productive in 2 ways. One, you're learning how to become fat adapted. You're clearing fat. But also you can get some work done while you're on the thing. You could watch some educational YouTube videos. You could watch some, listen to some podcasts. You can even write notes on your phone or on paper while you're doing it, because it's not particularly hard. Or you can have phone call conversations while you're doing it, because you can still hold a conversation in that zone. So you can be particularly productive. Number 8, it makes you more athletic. It doesn't make you more athletic in the terms of backflipping and things like that, but it will make you more athletic, as in your entire energy system will be working better. By doing zone 2, I've been able to run a half marathon with very little training, and also a marathon on the ski erg, even though that's not what I've been mainly doing my zone 2 on. It's just way more efficient for your body to upregulate this fat burning to a certain level of power output, and you can just get more done. So it makes you more athletic in that way. Number 9, it makes you truly fat adapted. So a lot of people will eat fat to make themselves fat adapted, but as I showed you with the funnel, you really want to create that hole bigger, and the only way you can do that is by training that hole to get bigger. So whatever your number is just now, you can improve that and you will become more fat adapted, which will be really beneficial in your path to becoming metabolically flexible, or in your path for weight loss, or in your path to become more athletic. It's a win-win-win-win. And number 10, it can help create a calorie deficit, because you're going to be doing zone 2 for 10 to 30 minutes 3 times a week. It can help burn calories without adding on to hunger like other exercise can do. So it can help you maintain your calorie deficit. I wouldn't necessarily include those calories in your calorie deficit, like don't eat back your exercise calories, but it will help control when you are making a calorie deficit, and it will also help target that calorie deficit towards fat usage, which is also helpful. So 3 steps into how to actually do zone 2. First of all, you need to pick a bit of cardio equipment. My preference is the Concept 2 bike erg. Any bike that tracks watts will work. You also need a heart rate monitor that accurately tracks your heart rate. Apple Watch is good, chest strap is probably better. Most of the heart rate monitors that are out that are wrist variables are pretty poor compared to a chest strap. The Apple Watch seems to be the best one. Otherwise, the chest strap is really good. Polar chest strap works, and MyZone chest straps works. Once you have a machine that can do watts, and then you have a heart rate monitor that can track your heart rate, you need to figure out what heart rate zone you need to be in. So the heart rate zone is the most important part, and there are several ways of working out your heart rate zone. So you could use the Mathotone method, which is 180 minus your age. You can use the Angus method, which is my weight, is 170 minus your age. That way it will get you in the lower end of zone 2 for most people, sometimes in the middle end. These 2 methods are not perfect at working out your zone 2, but it will get in your ballpark. So that's 180 minus your age or 170 minus your age. The other way, and I made a video on this, is to use DFA Alpha 1, which sounds really super complicated. You need a chest strap and you need an app called HRV Logger. In the HRV Logger app, you look up DFA Alpha 1, you cycle on the bike, you do a bit of a ramp test, so you start off at like say 50 watts and you increase it by 5-10 watts depending on how easy you're finding it over time, until your DFA Alpha 1 goes below 0.75. Once it's gone below that, you have crossed that threshold out of zone 2 into a kind of a higher aerobic zone. So zone 2 is this lower aerobic zone. That's a really cool way of doing it. The other way is to do lactate testing over 0.2 millimolars of lactate in your blood. Most people don't have access to that, but that is the gold standard. That DFA alpha seems to be a really cool way of doing it with actual technology that we own now. The other way is breathing in through your nose and out through your nose fully. If you can do that to borderline, before it gets uncomfortable to do that, that's right about zone 2. Another way, which is also a really good way, it's just a talk test. Can you hold a conversation in zone 2? I should be able to know that you're exercising, but you shouldn't be at the point where you're and then that happens. So you want to be in that kind of zone where you can hold a conversation, but it's kind of uncomfortable. Whatever your heart rate is in each one of these different things, and you could use a combination of these to find a ballpark of your zone 2, and it is a bit of a range, your zone 2. So once you find that kind of ballpark of where your heart rate should be at in zone 2, and loads of things will tell you your zone 2, but they're not really your zone 2. They're kind of your zone 2 based on your maximum heart rate, and they might be right and they might be wrong. So one of my systems would be a lot better in analyzing that. So once you have your zone 2 heart rate, you want to do about 10 minutes on the bike. The first few minutes don't count because that's you just getting into your groove. And then you want to see what watts you're holding. So say my zone 2 was 130. So my heart rate's floating about 130, so it might go 132, might go 125, but I'm in that zone. I want to look at the monitor and to see what watts I'm holding. So once you're in a groove on the bike, you should have a look at what watts you're holding. Whatever the watts is holding is the watts you're holding in zone 2. And the idea is to improve this over time. The goal you're looking for is 1 2.5 times your ideal body weight. A lot of people get hung up on this ideal body weight. What body weight would you like to weigh? So I would like to weigh, say, 80 kilos. So if we do 80 kilos is half of 80 is 40, add 40 onto 80 is 120. So if I'm holding 120 watts on the bike and my heart rate is in that 130 zone, I am doing good. That's what I would class good. If I'm under that, it's poor, and if it's over that, it's great. So a lot of Tour de France cyclists will be holding 2.5 times body weight in zone 2, which is excellent. Loads of people holding 2 times body weight. I like to use ideal body weight because if you're an overweight person, I don't think you should be penalized for fat that you have on your body, particularly if you're on a bike, and it makes the system a lot fairer throughout the system. If you're underweight, then I would just use your body weight because you don't have any extra mass to help you out. I would just use body weight. But if you're overweight, I would use ideal body weight in kilos, and it's 1.5 times your ideal body weight should be the target watts you should be holding. If you're holding that, that means your fat burning efficiency is good. And if you can hold that for 30 minutes, that's kind of the gold standard test. So if you're holding that for 30 minutes, that 1.5 times your body weight, and your heart rate isn't going overly top, or you're not gasping for air, and you can fully breathe through your nose, or if you're checking DFA alpha 1 and that's not going over 0.5. So I've been doing zone 2 now for a couple of years since I've been totally mad in it. I started off at right about 100 watts on the bike, and now I can comfortably get up to 150 watts. And if I'm pushing sort of the higher end of zone 2, I can hold 170, 180 watts. Okay, so zone 2 just now, holding 129, zoom on that, zoom in, or look at that, 129, and then come around here, have a look at the watts, to 160, 164, go up to this screen, that's it. So, heart rate 124, watts just now, 165, or thereabouts. Last little bit, let's go. As you can see, I still hold a conversation and fully breathe in and out my nose without huffing and puffing. Heart rate's kind of steady. This is what zone 2 looks like. Incredibly easy to do. A little short and breath from talking. Perfect. Still hold a conversation. 160, 164. Last K. I'll take this up to 180 and see what my heart rate does. And that's just a wee example of zone 2. Sometimes I go a lot slower than this and keep my heart rate at the lower end, but this is fine for just now. The talk test and the breathing test through the nose, I can do that. That's a really good improvement. I got a big kind of 20 watt improvement in the first little while, and then it's just slowly been increasing. And I've mostly been doing 10 to 20 minutes, 3-4 times a week. Occasionally I'll do a longer cycle than that, but most of the time, little and often is what I'll do. Sometimes I'll do several 10 minutes throughout the day. I'll jump in with other people in the gyms warm up. If they're doing a 10-minute warm up on the bike, I'll just jump on. I know what heart rate to hit, and I'll just slink into that. Like I said, zone 2 is super easy to do, and it's something that everyone should be incorporating in their life. If you don't have a Concept 2 bike, I totally recommend getting a good quality bike like a watt bike or a Concept 2 bike. You'll have it forever, it will last forever. If you don't have access to the gym, it's well worth getting. Don't hang your clothes on it, actually use it. Get yourself a decent heart rate monitor or a heart rate monitor that will measure this. The Concept 2 app that downloads with this is also fantastic. No, I don't have any discount codes, they're just great things to have. I'll link all the things to the DFA Alpha video in the description box on this. I hope this helps you guys out in the zone 2. I just think it's a hugely fundamental thing to get going, to improve your athleticism, to improve your fat burning zone, and I'll often recommend zone 2 to people, so I just wanted one video that you could just come to and get all the information from, and I'll check you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget